Hello, everyone. My name is Christi, and today I'll be sharing my experience as a conversation design intern for the summer of 2024. As I mentioned before, my name is Christi. Hello, and it is a pleasure to meet you. Let's get started. So, here's what I'll cover today. I'm going to talk about my job duties and responsibilities. I'm going to go over some key projects and deliverables I did this summer, as well as learnings and applications. And then I'll end with some professional growth, not only just from this experience over the summer, but as a takeaway from the program at UNT as a whole. So, as far as how I secured this role, I did apply for the role, go through the normal interview process. And as to who the company is, GoDaddy is not only just a domain servicing company, but a company that empowers entrepreneurs to really live out their dreams by being business owners. So, in regard to work products, unfortunately, I am unable to share just because it is a publicly traded company. But in today's presentation, I will go over some high-level ideas of what we do, which will help with a better understanding. Okay, so my main responsibilities include mapping out conversational paths first using a tool like Miro, as well as developing interactions in a product called Google Dialogflow CX, followed by regular testing and quality assurance, not to mention, most importantly, ensuring that everything is written in a clear, engaging, and friendly tone. Ensuring that all user inputs are accurately interpreted and responded to is pivotal, not to mention collaborating with cross-functional teams like engineering or product, and as well as leadership roles. So as going back into the responsibility side of things, when I go to map out things in Miro, that is basically the drawing board of starting with a conversational path. Not only is that putting in the fun stuff, putting in how the conversation will go, which often involves sentence fragments, comma splices, but also some technical ends like conditional paths. How is everything going to stay connected? What is going to happen if there's an error? Do we want them to go back to the main area of the bot? Do we want to exit and escalate them to human agent? These are all things we have to account for, and that's why it's really best to start with drawing it out, mapping it out so that you can look at it, test, and iterate and go from there. So once you have that in Miro and that's been vetted and checked off and approved, you then put in those conversations into a product called Google Dialogflow. The latest iteration now is the CX version. The older one is ES. And even then, though, you still put it into a test environment so that you can then test in that product so that you're not putting in anything into production that's not been vetted completely. And even once it is vetted and into production and on front of site, there will always be regular testing and quality assurance done, as I'll go into later, making sure that everything is clear, engaging, and friendly. So when it comes to mapping out NLU design, this means that we're enhancing the conversation in the chatbot by making sure that everything is a smooth experience. With workflow development, we are just making sure that everything is just connected as it would be. Making sure that everything as well is tested and refined. It's just a circular thing that continues to go over and over and over. That is just the gift that keeps on giving to make sure that the product can get better and better every time. And you may be thinking, what does this quality assurance and testing look like? Well, it can look like two things. Putting on your analytical brain and taking a look to understand why are this many chats in this particular product area, why are they all escalating to an agent? Well, that's your job, is to figure out why this is happening, because you've already determined, well, the business has determined that these particular conversations shouldn't need to go to a human agent. They should be able to be handled by the chatbot so that the human agent can take on more complex things, leaving the more simpler tasks like the ones you're seeing that are being escalated to the bot. So you're checking that. You're also working maybe what I have proposed is working with customer service agents who are front of the line, making sure that they're regularly reading a subset of chats so that we can make sure that we're getting that human feedback, that the conversations are working as they should, because it's often that they're able to provide feedback that wouldn't necessarily be shown on a report, on an automated report. I'll give you an example. There was an experience where I got a report back from agents that there was a good number of conversations that were presenting with the user immediately giving their name. And I said, I wonder why. Well, it's because there was something that wasn't right in the environment. Luckily, it was just to a small subset of users, and we were able to flag that, and then we were able to get that taken care of for them. So that's just a little bit of what that quality assurance and testing looks like. So as far as the design process, I mentioned Google Dialogflow. I mentioned Miro. Also talked about using forms to kind of gain some human understanding as to how conversations are going. Lastly, I want to talk about Elastic. Elastic is a phenomenal product where you're able to pull and look at data to better understand how whichever product it is you're working with is performing. So it's definitely a powerful tool. Going into the challenges of the role that I'm in, just speaking on a very high level, this particular niche, I'll call it niche, is always changing. Even as we speak today, this role will probably not look the same 90 days even from now. Why? Because of artificial intelligence, the emergence of large language models and small language models. Also, humans were just constantly iterating on products like this because we're figuring things out, we're moving forward, we're tweaking, and we're continuing to go forward. So that is probably the number one challenge in this type of role, is that you can never be complacent. You always need to be learning and ready to pivot, because this is the kind of industry that this is. Because what we're trying to do is make sure that we're giving the more complex tasks, whatever that is, in whatever industry you're working for. We're trying to make sure that we can use these kind of tools to help solve these things, so that the business can have humans, interact with more complex tasks to assist their customers, and it's just a beneficial thing for all parties. So as far as my own professional growth over this summer, I really feel like I've honed in on my technical skills. I now can, do some things that I wasn't able to do before. But most importantly, what I've learned is communication, not just externally and on the product, but also internal communication, cross-collaborating with product, cross-collaborating with UX design, and also always remembering to put the user first in every single thing that I do. Because if your product doesn't make sense to the user that's using it, then your product doesn't make sense, period. So super important. As far as the reflection of my coursework against this particular role, what I've taken away, some of the big things is accessibility, making sure that everything I do is for the user, and that it's not written in a very complex way, especially when you're working with chatbots. You don't have a lot of real estate to work with. So you want to say things in a nice, crisp, concise manner, maybe with 3 syllables max. And you really just want to be pointed to what you're trying to return. In addition to that, I mentioned user-centered design and also just communication. I've learned in this program that you don't need to overcomplicate things. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. If you're in the workplace, if you can communicate internally you will really solve a lot of things being able to communicate with your peers, and it just makes your work product better. It makes everything better for the business and moving forward. Future applications, as far as applying skills in my career, I'm going to make sure that I always continue to try to get better with my communication. I'm going to learn more, more skills, and just constantly keep staying up with industry trends, as well as just making sure I'm always keeping the user in mind with my communication skills. So in summary, as far as what we've talked about today, is that I've talked about the product that we've gone over. I've talked about the growth we've experienced and what we're doing to make a better product moving forward. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Take care. Bye-bye.